Wait. Before you scroll, before you distract yourself, before you return to the same financial patterns, listen carefully. You have been praying for freedom. You have been asking for relief. You have been whispering, God, when will this pressure lift? And I say to you, I am not releasing you into randomness. I am releasing you into responsibility. Debt is not just numbers. It is a cycle. And cycles break when someone stands up and says, it stops with me. Stay here. Do not skip this. Because what you are about to hear is not hype. It is a decision moment. If you are ready to break financial cycles permanently, press like now, not emotionally, but intentionally. Subscribe only if you are serious about building inheritance, not chasing miracles. Now listen deeper. Eternal inheritance is not sudden wealth. It is generational stability. Proverbs says, a good person leaves an inheritance to their children's children. That is not accidental prosperity. That is engineered legacy. Debt is temporary when discipline becomes permanent. God's plan for freedom is structure. Structure removes chaos. Structure eliminates leakage. Structure builds margin. Margin creates peace. Peace allows wise decisions. Psalm 127 says, unless the Lord builds the house, the labor is in vain. A house represents structure. If you want debt freedom, your house must be organized. Organized finances, organized habits, organized thinking. If income increases but habits remain undisciplined, debt returns. But when discipline increases, debt decreases. This is not mystical. This is structural. God's plan has always been wisdom before wealth. Solomon asked for wisdom. Joseph stored during abundance. Nehemiah rebuilt walls before expansion. Walls represent boundaries. Debt shrinks when boundaries strengthen. Boundaries on spending. Boundaries on lifestyle inflation. Boundaries on emotional purchases. Boundaries are not restriction. They are protection. Protection preserves capital. Preserved capital builds assets. Assets create stability. Stability creates inheritance. Heaven will not wait does not mean urgency of magic. It means opportunity has timing. If you keep ignoring discipline, cycles continue. If you act now, cycles break. There is a window where conviction is strong. Use it. Don't let this moment fade into comfort. Press like if you are choosing action over delay. Subscribe if you are choosing inheritance over impulse. Do not scroll past this. If you've been carrying financial pressure silently, if you've been smiling publicly but stressing privately, this message is for you. You have been asking God for relief. But what if this is the moment of release? Not tomorrow, not one day, right now. Something is shifting in your bloodline, and it requires your full attention. Stay with me for the next few minutes. Do not let distraction steal what could change your financial future, because this is not about hype. This is about breaking a cycle permanently. If you feel even a small conviction in your spirit right now, press like, not casually, but intentionally. Subscribe if you are serious about becoming the one who ends debt and builds inheritance in your family. Now listen carefully, because this is where everything changes. Debt grows through untracked spending, emotional reaction, short-term thinking, lifestyle comparison. Freedom grows through tracking, budgeting, investing, patience, long-term planning. You cannot pray away what you refuse to plan against. That is truth. If you are first in your family to think long-term, you are the cycle breaker. You are the one who stops, living paycheck to paycheck, avoiding financial education, spending without plan, ignoring future preparation. Cycle breakers are rarely celebrated early. They are disciplined quietly. Quiet discipline produces loud results later. Stay with this, because this is your pivot. From borrower mindset to builder mindset, from reactive living to strategic living, from temporary relief to permanent stability. Say this slowly. I build before I celebrate. I save before I spend. I invest before I upgrade. I think generationally. Imagine a house not stressed by bills, not shaken by emergencies, not burdened by constant interest payments. That house is built with emergency reserves, clear budgets, asset accumulation, debt elimination strategy. Freedom is not flashy. It is stable. Stability is luxury. The eternal inheritance decree is this: you are capable of breaking cycles, not because money falls from heaven, but because discipline rises within you. Heaven's plan has always been order, wisdom, stewardship, patience. When you align with that plan, freedom becomes inevitable. This is not a fantasy promise, it is a structural shift. Your inheritance begins the day your habits change. Now build it, one disciplined decision at a time. The decree has been spoken. All debts are being canceled and divine overflow is being released. This is your heavenly inheritance, sealed with eternal promise. To step into your final release, tap the secure scan or PayPal link in the description. Declare with full faith, "Yes, God, I receive my eternal inheritance. I claim my freedom from debt today." Your season of lack has ended. Walk in abundance, chosen one. Heaven has opened your release. This activation is completely secure, protected by divine covering and grace. This is the moment you've been waiting for. Heaven has issued its final decree, an eternal inheritance designed to make you completely debt-free. There's no more waiting. This is the final release of your financial freedom. Scan and claim it securely. If you are at the top or first, you are the chosen one. The divine favor rests upon you. There's no more waiting. This is the final release of your financial freedom. Do not look away from this. Debt is not just a balance, it is a behavior pattern, and behavior patterns repeat until someone interrupts them. You have been waiting for a release, but release is not an event. Release is discipline applied daily. If you are first in your bloodline to break this cycle, you will feel resistance. Because breaking cycles feels uncomfortable, you will have to say no when others say yes. You will have to save when others spend. You will have to invest when others upgrade. That is the cost of inheritance. Debt persists where impulse outruns planning, emotion outruns wisdom, lifestyle outruns income, desire outruns discipline. Proverbs says the borrower is servant to the lender. Servant means controlled. If you are serious about inheritance, you must reject financial servitude. Freedom requires strategy. Strategy requires structure. Structure requires sacrifice. From today forward, no more financial denial. No more pretending numbers don't matter. No more emotional spending disguised as deserved. You track every dollar. You assign every dollar. You question every purchase. You eliminate every unnecessary leak. That is authority. Authority over money restores authority over life. When Nehemiah rebuilt the wall, he worked with focus despite opposition. Breaking debt is similar. Opposition will come in the form of temptation, comparison, pressure, comfort. But walls must be rebuilt. Your financial wall is emergency fund, debt payoff plan, income growth strategy, investment habit, each brick laid consistently, brick by brick. God's plan has never been chaos. Creation began with separation and structure. Light separated from darkness, waters separated from land. Order came first, then multiplication. Apply that pattern. Separate wants from needs. Separate income from impulse. Separate short-term pleasure from long-term security. Order precedes overflow. Right now ask yourself, do I want relief or do I want freedom? Relief is temporary, freedom is permanent. Relief pays minimum payments, freedom eliminates balances. Relief upgrades lifestyle, freedom upgrades assets. Choose carefully. Press like if you choose freedom. Subscribe if you choose generational responsibility, not emotionally, strategically. Inheritance thinkers ask, How can I reduce liabilities? How can I increase equity? How can I grow skill value? How can I create multiple streams? They do not chase sudden gain. They build predictable growth. Predictable growth compounds. Compounding destroys debt. Compounding builds legacy. Debt will not disappear through inspiration. It disappears through execution. Execute, budget, plan, cut, build, invest, repeat. Repeat until stability replaces stress. Repeat until savings replace scarcity. Repeat until assets outweigh liabilities. That is the eternal inheritance decree in action, not dramatic, disciplined. And discipline is stronger than debt. If the debt cycle is ending with you, then the comfort cycle must end with you first. Because comfort is what keeps patterns alive, and patterns repeated long enough become identities, and identities determine outcomes. You cannot call yourself a builder while living like a consumer. You cannot claim inheritance while feeding impulse. You cannot expect overflow while tolerating leakage. This is the confrontation stage. Numbers do not lie. Habits do not hide. What you repeat is what you become. If you repeat avoidance, you become unstable. If you repeat discipline, you become established. Established people think differently. They do not ask what feels good now. They ask what secures 10 years from now. They do not look at price tags emotionally. They evaluate value strategically. They understand that every dollar spent carries opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is invisible loss. And invisible loss is what keeps bloodlines financially stagnant. When you understand opportunity cost, your spending slows down. When your spending slows down, your savings accelerate. When your savings accelerate, your investment capacity expands. When investment capacity expands, leverage increases. Leverage reduces dependence on income alone. Dependence reduction is freedom. Freedom is the true inheritance. Inheritance is not merely assets passed down. It is autonomy secured permanently. Autonomy means no creditor controls your time. No lender dictates your decisions. No interest payment eats your peace. Peace is expensive when purchased through discipline, but it is priceless once obtained. Many want peace without payment. The payment is consistency. Consistency is boring. But boring, built correctly, becomes powerful. Wealth is built in boredom. Debt is sustained in excitement. Excitement purchases what discipline would reject. Discipline waits while excitement rushes. And rushing costs interest. Interest is the tax on impatience. If you eliminate impatience, you eliminate unnecessary interest. That is power. Power over self precedes power over resources. If you master self-control, resources follow structure. Structure builds margin. Margin creates options. Options create strength. Strength builds confidence. Confidence grounded in preparation is unshakable. This is not about hoping heaven intervenes suddenly. It is about aligning with principles that already govern increase. Proverbs speaks of diligent hands producing wealth. Diligence means focused repetition. Focused repetition means daily tracking, weekly reviewing, monthly adjusting. Review your finances like a builder reviews blueprints. Inspect weaknesses. Reinforce weak areas. Remove unnecessary weight. Add structural beams where stress is highest. Debt represents structural imbalance. Correct the imbalance deliberately. Increase income strategically. Decrease unnecessary expenses aggressively. Redirect surplus intelligently. Invest consistently. Repeat without emotion. Emotion destabilizes systems. Systems produce stability. Stability compounds into equity. Equity builds wealth. Wealth maintained with humility becomes legacy. Legacy secured through discipline becomes eternal inheritance. Eternal does not mean endless money. Eternal means principles that endure beyond trends. Trends fade. Principles persist. When you anchor your financial life to principle, storms do not shake you. Inflation shifts, markets fluctuate, economies adjust, but disciplined builders remain standing because their foundation is not excitement but execution. Execution daily, not occasionally. Execution when tired, execution when tempted, execution when no one is watching. That is the separating line. The majority seek motivation, the minority build systems. Systems eliminate chaos. Chaos breeds debt. Order breeds freedom. If you commit to order fully, freedom is not mystical, it is mathematical. Spend less than you earn. Invest consistently. Protect capital. Expand skill value. Avoid lifestyle inflation. Delay gratification. Repeat for years. That formula is simple but powerful. Powerful because most people will not sustain it. If you sustain it, you differentiate yourself permanently. Differentiation produces financial advantage. Financial advantage compounds quietly. Quiet compounding produces strong houses. Strong houses protect generations. Generations raised in stability think differently. They start from strength, not survival. That is the bloodline shift, and it begins the moment you refuse to live casually with money. From this point forward, your decisions reflect inheritance thinking. Your purchases reflect long-term value. Your habits reflect discipline. Your plans reflect foresight. You are no longer reacting to bills. You are engineering margin. You are no longer fearing statements. You are controlling outcomes. You are no longer hoping for relief. You are constructing freedom. And construction done daily, relentlessly, without distraction, is what transforms temporary income into permanent inheritance. From this point forward, you do not negotiate with weakness. You do not rationalize poor decisions. You do not excuse financial disorder as normal. Normal is what built the cycle. You are building something abnormal in your bloodline. Abnormal discipline. Abnormal patience. Abnormal long-term thinking. Because average patterns produce average outcomes, and average outcomes do not create inheritance, they maintain survival. Survival thinking says, I made it through the month. Inheritance thinking says, I secured the decade. The difference is perspective. When your perspective expands, your behavior changes automatically. You stop measuring success by purchases and start measuring it by assets. You stop celebrating spending power and start celebrating ownership power. Ownership power is quiet but dominant. It does not scream for validation. It builds silently and compounds relentlessly. Compounding is patient force applied consistently. Small disciplined actions repeated over years become massive structural shifts. That is how empires form, not through emotional explosions, but through steady execution. If you are serious about ending debt and establishing eternal inheritance, you must accept that comfort will decrease before capacity increases. Capacity is built under pressure. When you resist impulse, your capacity strengthens. When you delay gratification, your future multiplies. When you invest consistently, your financial structure thickens. Thick structures withstand storms. Thin structures collapse under stress. Decide which one you are building, because once you choose discipline fully, everything aligns around it. Your schedule aligns. Your spending aligns. Your relationships align. You begin to distance yourself from conversations that normalize debt and surround yourself with minds that respect strategy. Environment influences execution. Execution determines results. Results shape legacy. Legacy determines whether your name represents struggle or stability. Stability is not glamorous at first. It is repetitive. It is measured. It is intentional. But over time, stability becomes powerful. Powerful enough that emergencies no longer destabilize you. Powerful enough that opportunities no longer intimidate you. Powerful enough that your children inherit options instead of obligations. Options are wealth. Wealth is not merely currency, it is choice. Choice of where to live. Choice of how to invest time. Choice of how to allocate resources. Debt reduces choice. Discipline increases choice. Increased choice increases influence. Influence multiplies opportunity. Opportunity under discipline management becomes exponential growth. This is the trajectory, and it is not built in one dramatic decision, but in thousands of consistent ones. Each day you choose structure over impulse. You strengthen the foundation. Each week you review and adjust. You tighten the beams. Each month you invest intentionally. You add another brick. Years later, you stand inside a house built from thousands of invisible acts of restraint and foresight. That is inheritance. Not accidental wealth, but engineered stability. Engineered stability becomes permanent confidence. Permanent confidence removes fear. When fear is removed, clarity increases. Clarity improves decision-making. Improved decisions accelerate growth. Growth maintained with humility sustains blessing, and blessing sustained through discipline becomes generational security. You are no longer asking when freedom will come. You are building it. You are no longer hoping debt disappears. You are dismantling it systematically. You are no longer dreaming about inheritance. You are constructing it in real time. This is the transformation, from reactive living to intentional building. From emotional cycles to disciplined systems, from temporary relief to permanent structure. And once this shift locks into identity, there is no returning to the old patterns, because you now understand that freedom is not given randomly. It is built relentlessly. This is the moment where talk ends and structure begins. You have heard the truth. You understand the pattern. You see the cycle clearly now. From this point forward, there is no innocence in ignorance. You either continue the pattern or you permanently interrupt it. Eternal inheritance is not a dramatic event. It is a disciplined identity. Identity is what you repeat daily without negotiation. If you repeat discipline long enough, it becomes natural. When it becomes natural, wealth building stops feeling forced and starts feeling normal. That is when the shift is complete. Debt freedom is not about sudden release. It is about systematic removal, one balance at a time, one habit at a time, one decision at a time. And when the last balance is cleared, what remains is not just zero debt. What remains is a new mind, a mind that understands restraint, a mind that respects leverage, a mind that protects margin. That mind is the true inheritance. You were never meant to live in financial pressure permanently. Pressure was the teacher, not the destiny. The lesson was discipline. The lesson was structure. The lesson was delayed gratification. Now that you understand the lesson, the season changes. Not because something magical happened, but because you changed. From today forward, you measure before moving. You calculate before committing. You save before celebrating. You invest before upgrading. You build before displaying. This is not restrictive. This is powerful. When you live like this for years, the results become undeniable. Stability replaces stress. Margin replaces panic. Assets replace liabilities. Peace replaces pressure. That is the house of inheritance. A house not shaken by temporary storms. A house not built on excitement. A house built on disciplined repetition. And here's the final truth. Heaven's plan was never chaos. It was order. It was never impulse. It was wisdom. It was never instant wealth. It was lasting structure. You now know the blueprint. The blueprint only works if you build. So build it quietly. Build it consistently. Build it without needing applause. And one day you will look back and realize the cycle truly ended with you. Not because you wished for freedom, but because you worked for it. That is the eternal inheritance decree. Now go execute.